Hey, welcome back to another edition of Open Shutter, Saturday edition, and have the pleasure of welcoming uh, sports hockey photographer, videographer Kasumi Kobo. So, Kobo, thanks for spending part of your Saturday on this thing. So,
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
yeah, I know
This
that
is a
we chatted
joy.
offline like last week about what you wanted to speak about. I think your story is pretty interesting. So, maybe for the people that don't know who you are, maybe like what do you want people to know about you?
Yeah. Well, I'd say my journey is pretty long-winded. I've been all over, but just to give a short recap, I was born and raised in Japan. I moved to Canada when I was 16 years old to play hockey. I had big dreams,
Yeah,
and I went to Ryerson for university, now TMU, and I was supposed to play hockey in university. That didn't quite happen due to some injuries, but for the better, I have picked up a camera.
yeah.
And third year of school, I dropped out, started my own
Uh,
business, and I haven't looked back.
wow, what a story, eh?
It's been pretty awesome. I can't lie. You know, a lot of things have happened for me to get here,
Yeah.
but I don't look back, and everything that's happened has led me to this very moment and who I am today. So
Right.
love it
Interest
all.
interesting. So what's been like the biggest challenge, I guess, for you to kind of like make that transition? Because obviously, like your goal was to play like pro like it was to play pro hockey, right? I assume.
That was the original goal, and that's
Yeah.
what I told people. That's what my big
Yeah.
mouth told people in back home in Japan.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, the biggest transition, I think, I got really lucky with my situation. I spoke English growing up. I went in an international school. My
Okay.
grandpa lives here, so I do have family here.
Right.
My dad grew up here, so I had citizenship by birth. So my whole process of transitioning here has been much, much simpler than other immigrants. A lot of my friends that have come to Japan and moved here, I know their process has been a lot tougher.
Yeah.
I think for me, just on a personal note, the transition between like Japanese and Canadian hockey was a big jump.
Yeah.
Just the difference in speed, the level of IQ. Yeah,
Really?
I think that was the biggest transition for me.
Really? What's like how is hockey over there different?
Hockey over there is, it's similar to a lot of other Japanese sports, and baseball's going on right now, and
Yeah.
everyone's talking about Japanese baseball with the World
Right.
Series.
Yeah.
But Japanese hockey, similar to other sports, again, is very structured. There's kind of two plays you choose from, and you pass here and then you pass there. Whereas a lot of hockey here is you think for yourself. It's based on reading the situation. There's no
Oh.
set plays. It's a lot more me, 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 which is
Hmm.
great, and kind of speaks on the culture here.
Nice.
And the kind of structuredness speaks on the culture of Japanese culture, and it's great. It just wasn't for me, and there's a lot of adapting to do moving here, thinking for myself.
Interesting. Yeah. So like how big is hockey over in Japan?
It's a lot bigger than people think.
Yeah.
My dad grew up here in Canada. He was born in Japan, but grew up here in Canada. So he wanted to give me the Canadian experience. So I
Okay.
kind of had an in through that. How all the other players that I played with have gotten into hockey. They all have crazy stories of like seeing someone practice in the parking lot and not knowing what that sport was.
Right.
Seeing a kid on the train with a hockey bag and being like, what is that?
Cool.
A lot of my friends have pretty cool origin stories. I just had, a lucky situation where my dad played hockey.
Oh, yeah?
Uh, it's not,
Pro?
no, 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 just for fun, men's
Okay.
league.
Okay.
To me, he looked like he was pro, but as I
Yeah.
got older, I realized, he's just a regular old dude
Yeah.
that's playing hockey.
Okay.
But yeah, like hockey in Japan is a lot different, and but you know what? I've enjoyed it, the hockey back there and hockey here. I love how it's
Yeah.
different. But yeah,
Interesting.
it's I say hockey in Japan. Um, you know, so there's not a lot of leagues. It is bigger than what people think. But my team, we practiced with kids from elementary school all the way up to women's. Like my goalie was like 42 years old when I was
Yeah.
16.
Wow.
So we don't have enough skaters.
Right.
So we're just trying to make a team.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the situation. Again, I love the fact that there were like moms on the teams, and we get that kind of support when we're young and growing, which we don't really have here because you play with kids around the same age group, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the situation back home.
Wow. Where in Japan are you from?
Kobe, Japan.
Okay,
Osaka.
cool. I've only been to Tokyo, but I liked it. Yeah.
I'd say Tokyo's like if you compare like uh Tokyo to New York, Kobe
Right.
is more like Toronto.
Is that right?
You get city, but you also get the wilderness, you get the ocean, you get the
It's better then.
mountains.
It's better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot more breathable, I'd say. But
Right.
that's also just where I'm from, so I have a lot of love for it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I want to get back there, so maybe I'll go check out.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll
when
maybe I'll bring my hockey skates.
oh yeah, no doubt. Like play a
Imagine.
little bit of men's league while you're
Just like
there.
show up, say, "Hey,
Yeah,
I'm ready."
yeah,
Spoke
yeah.
to Kasumi. I hear hockey's like a thing. Oh,
Yeah.
so that's amazing. Wow. But now you're like now you've got your own business shooting, the PWHL and all these like leagues across like the GTA. So like pretty incredible, right? Because it hasn't been like a long period of time.
No, I am
Yeah.
24 now.
Yeah.
And I finished playing competitive hockey when I was 19,
Right.
19,
So
20.
okay. So not
Yeah.
even 5 years, like maybe, right? Like
No. And I think I jumped right in at the perfect time. Started my
right,
business right around well, I picked up a camera right around COVID. Started my business
right.
a couple of years after, which is pretty much everyone's story, especially
Yeah.
the younger creatives.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
had nothing to do and they kind of picked up a camera. My situation, I picked up a camera because at TMU I was promised that we are gonna get hands-on experience,
Yeah.
but we didn't get that. We got online school, which I thought was replaceable by YouTube.
Sure.
Learning media theory in person is different from doing it over Zoom, and I just thought that you know I called a lot of people. They were like, "Strike while the iron's hot," and I was like, "Yep, you're right." So even though I was in school, just the situation and everything around it, I thought it might have been better. And it has been for me to jump into my business, leave school,
Yeah.
and use the connection that I had before they kind of dissipated, after I
Right.
graduated.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So like what happened when you like told your family stuff that you're leaving school? Like how did that go?
Oh yeah, my family, you know what? Interestingly, so I live with my grandpa here. My
Yeah.
grandpa himself, he's an entrepreneur. He moved to Canada when he was 26 to start his own jewelry business. So,
Cool.
he understands taking risks, doing what sets your heart on fire. I think
Mm,
it's important to kind of, lock into intuition and gut feeling. When you think something's for you, you just got to do it, even if it means moving to the other side of the world. So my grandpa was on my side, although he was like, "Yeah, there's just one more year. It's just one more year." I'm like, "Grandpa,
yeah.
has anyone ever asked for your degree when you're working, like your own business?" He's like, "No."
Right.
I'm like, "There's my answer."
Wow.
Obviously, if you're want to be an engineer, doctor, something of high profession, and you need that degree to prove that you
Sure. Of
can,
course. Yeah.
operate on a human being, then get your degree. By
Yes.
all means, follow the path. But for
Yeah.
creative, especially right now, a lot of people in the creative industry that are telling people to just finish school, they don't have degrees themselves, right? So it's
Yeah.
not like they're going to judge me based on not having one. And, people are more likely to judge me based on my work and my work
Yeah.
ethic. So I just thought it was the right thing to do. Telling my family, my dad, he's a private school teacher. So his job is literally to send kids to university. And for his own daughter to
Yeah.
not finish university, I do think it
Right.
was quite disappointing for him.
Right.
I don't think he told his coworkers like right away. I hope that now I've proven him wrong and showed him up that I can still do it without a piece of paper. But at that time, I made sure that he was the final boss. I had to convince him. He had to be
Right.
on my side. And so
Okay.
first things first, I told him he didn't have to pay for university anymore. So he was like, Okay. Okay." I'm like, "I'm going to be financially independent." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I might be able to get on board with that." But I prepared, a little bit of a presentation, told him what my revenue like projection was
Oh,
going to be,
like a
told
pitch.
him, yeah, trying to like sell him on the idea that school wasn't for me
Wait.
and that my business was the way to go.
So you had an actual presentation.
Yeah, like he
Really?
was a teacher, so I needed to prove him
Oh,
that,
wow.
this was right for me. And yeah, he's a man of logic. And
Mm.
so if I could prove him my way based on logic, based on facts, it was a slow process, but he got on board eventually.
Yeah.
And once he saw, kind of the outcome of me putting 100% of my effort into business, obviously, because the things I was producing at that time, my heart was split, right? I did love school and I loved learning,
Mm.
but my heart was just split. I just had paying clients and
Yeah.
assignments. And I felt like the paying clients deserved more love at that time because I was like, all I need is a 60. I just need to
Right.
pass.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So when I started to put in 100% of my effort into my business and he saw the outcome of that, he was like, okay, so you might be able to go somewhere with this. And I think the connections that I had throughout my hockey experience, convincing that my journey here wasn't a waste.
Yeah.
Obviously, him sending me here cost a lot of money, cost a lot of, investment. He let his little girl go,
Right.
earlier than he had expected. He thought he had me until 18, but then I was like,
Mm.
at 16, I'm leaving. I'm spreading my wings.
Mhm.
And so at that time, I think it was more so, convincing him that all this, my path, my training that I had, all this wasn't a waste. It,
Yeah.
it was part of the story. Just wasn't the story that people hoped for or, people assumed.
Yeah.
But I like that the fact that I got to decide on my own terms what was right for
Sure.
me.
Sure. Yeah, because sometimes we think our path is one way,
Yep.
but meanwhile, it could be, like, something totally different,
Yeah. You got to keep your eyes wide open. You never
you
know.
know? Yeah, like, don't stay so focused on just, like, one goal because it could be something totally different, and, like, your
Exactly.
story is a prime example of that, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I did not think I would end up here. What I'm doing. I've always loved taking photos, taking videos. Like I was always
Yeah,
that weird kid when we go on field trips. Like I'm always taking video on our iPad.
okay.
My first video, my first photos was on my Nintendo DS. Like I was
Yeah, love it.
always taking photos,
Nice.
and for that to turn into business has been amazing. The fact that
Wow.
people are keeping me alive, making sure that I can eat, pay the bills while
Mm.
I do something that I love has truly been a joy.
Yeah, no doubt for sure, right? It's a great story, really. So your dad is still over there in Japan?
Actually, he is now in Vietnam. So he
Oh,
was in Japan for, I want to say,
yeah.
28 years.
Okay.
So he moved from Canada to Japan to teach there. Met my mom, fell in love, and then 2 years
Wow.
became 28. And then my mom passed when I was 18.
Sorry to hear that.
And it's been a tough journey, but I told him, if he wanted to continue my mom's legacy, and my mom has been, she has a bright personality. She loved life. She soaked everything in. And my dad, after she passed, was kind of living a monotonous life without, my sister moved to Canada a few years after me. So his children were here in Canada and
Right.
he was alone in Japan, kind of
Mm.
living the same day every day. And when he had kids and a wife, living that wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
And to him, he still really enjoyed life, but now without family, it really hit him hard. And I told him, hey, if you want to continue again her journey, her legacy, her story, you got to continue living. If you
Yeah.
die here, her spirits are going to die with you. And
Mm.
so I need you to go live life. He's 53 years old, I think. And I'm like,
Young,
man, yeah.
like young.
And he's like, oh, I'm just going to retire here. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
dad, go travel, go live your life. So
Mm.
through his job as an international school teacher, he's been able to land an opportunity in Vietnam.
Hmm.
And so he's now teaching in Vietnam and he's hoping to, travel to a different country and then teach there, kind
Oh,
of, learn kind of what the world has to offer beyond our little tiny circle back home in Kobe,
right.
Japan.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's been a great journey for him. He's,
Huh.
he's smiling, he's living, he's enjoying his independence. He has his own motorcycle. He's living his youth again. So I'm happy to see that
Oh,
my mom teaching us how short life is has
can be, right?
brought a new sense of life to this 50-year-old man, and
Yeah.
I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, like, to me, like, age is all relative, like, it really matters, like, how you like, what your attitude is and, like, how you
Exactly.
approach things and you know, I know people that are 85 and they look like they're 55. Like,
Yep.
okay. And the vice versa. People that are in their 30s look like they're in their 50s just by the way that they act every day. It's like,
Yep.
so you gotta be careful with that stuff, right? But your dad is
Exactly.
young, right? Like your dad is
He
young. So I
is.
mean, it's not, you know, what a great
I
story.
want him to, feel young again, especially
Yeah,
with the kids out of the house, man. I
sure.
I want him to live his independence, which
Yeah,
is great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Sorry.
So you know, I've had other people on that have had their own business. So like, you know, for people that are starting out, maybe kind of like in a similar situation where they want to start their own business, like what do you like? What are some tips for people out there
Ooh,
in
people who
terms of
want to
just like
start
getting paid clients? You know?
for sure.
Yeah,
I say, this is so cliche, but it's man, just do it.
yeah.
And
But how though? But how?
how? Oh man,
Yeah,
how to do it?
how? Like,
Um, when I first started out, I I think I kind of found luck because I wasn't looking to get paid for this.
right.
At the beginning, I did it because it was a passion of mine. It was
Mm,
joy, and I do think people resonate with that. And when people see like authentic joy and happiness for something, people are willing to get on board.
yeah.
So I started my journey. You kind of hear people asking strangers, and that's kind of where I started. I picked up a camera. I didn't really have intentions of starting my own business. I hope to, kind of land a job at TSN or
Right.
Sportsnet in the future,
Right.
work for one of the big leagues. But then
Yeah.
picking up my camera, I realized how fun full autonomy is. And
Mm,
so I started taking photos, strangers, and I went downtown and I was like, hey, can we do a 10-minute photo shoot? Like, I'll send you the photos for free. Like, let me just practice. And obviously, it's the new age of Instagram and social media. People are, obviously willing to get free professional or amateur photos done.
yeah.
Right. And so that was my way of just practicing, just getting
Just
reps in.
just approaching random people on the street.
Yeah. Cause I wasn't at that time comfortable getting paid, or again, I didn't
Okay.
have getting paid as my end goal. I just
Yeah.
wanted
You
to
just want to
shoot.
do it. Yeah.
And I just had this love for photography, which again, people resonated with. And so I went out skydiving with my friends one
Mhm.
time.
Right.
And I wanted to take photos of, obviously people jumping out of a plane. I thought it might be a cool opportunity. I just got my big lens, 50 to 300, no, yeah, 50 to 300. And I'm like, yeah, let's go out. Let's go out and shoot far away. And then I can also take some fun portraits of my friends in front of planes and whatever. And so there was a couple that was taking photos, selfies by plane. And I was like, gosh, they're gorgeous. Let me go ask them if I could take some photos. I asked them and they're like, yeah, let's take photos. And I see that the boyfriend is kind of hesitant. Little
Mm.
did I know the dude had planned a whole proposal after they're coming down the plane. He had like family come in and everything.
Oh.
And so he had thought that maybe I was in on it, but I just happened to be a total stranger that just wanted to take photos of them. And the girl had no idea. So she's like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's take some photos. I took some photos of them. And then they go up in the plane. And then I see people coming out. And then I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, the guy's proposing. I'm like, no freaking way. I stay for the proposal, take some photos of, the couple coming down and him going on one knee and them, with their family and everything. They did hire a photographer. I did ask if it was okay to be in that space. I just got a lot of experience in that moment. And then the girl reached out to me thinking that I was actually still in on the whole thing. And I was like, no, 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 girly. I'm just a random person. And she's like, I can't believe it. I love your energy. And she's like, let me hire you for a birthday shoot, for grad shoot, for this, for that. And I'm like, this is 2 weeks in of getting a camera. Are you
Yeah.
sure? She's like, I want to pay you. I love your photos. And I'm like,
Whoa.
okay. And so all
Wow.
it took for me was one girl to kind of invest in my, potential. And
Mm.
here I was starting to get paying clients. And it was just, word of mouth. People are just talking to each other. And I think once I started to post on Instagram, things kind of started to blow up. And I think, one way to start is to start posting. And a
Yeah.
lot of photographers are afraid to post when they're first starting out because it's not their best work. And yeah, of course, it's not your best work, especially if you have a future in mind for yourself.
Right.
But you never know, right? When someone's gonna look at your first crappy photo, even though you think it's not great, someone's gonna be like, I want that. I want exactly that, and I will pay you for your current skill set. And so a lot of people took a chance on me, and took a chance on me as a person, as a creative, and it's been wonderful. Like, it kind of snowballed from there, and I
Mm,
just got a lot of opportunities that I didn't think would happen. Uh, and again, I do think people like to see energy and
sure.
passion, and I don't hide that. A lot
No.
of photographers try to show up in this professional mold. They
Mm,
try to, make it seem like they know everything that's going on. But the reality of taking photo shoots, especially what I do, is that there's a lot of creative problem solving on the spot. And there's a lot of times where you don't know how the lighting is going to be until you set foot in that ice rink. All
yeah.
change rooms are different. All ice rinks are different. Sometimes
Mm,
they're more yellow, they're dim lit. So there's just a lot of different factors
yeah.
that makes the photo shoot different. And I think having fun whilst doing it, showing that you're having fun solving creative problems, make people comfortable with you.
Yeah.
I like being funny and weird behind the camera because that's just me, and I don't hide it. And I don't show up being like, hello guys. I'm more
Very
like, what's
formal.
up
Yeah.
everybody.
Mm,
And it's hockey, and people love that energy. And I want to feel like I'm one of them, and I want them to feel like, it's not a stranger, it's just their friend who
yeah.
just happened to show up today, like maybe a sub player that just came out today to take photos of the team. That's the kind of energy that I want people to see from me. And so, in terms of how to start, honestly, I think it's finding what's true to yourself.
Mm,
Obviously, if being corporate, being professional is what's true to you,
yeah.
then, present yourself in that way and find clients that resonate with that side of who you are. And it's not just a product that sells, it's your personality that sells, your authenticity that sells. And so, I think if where you want to be is in the sports photography field, you need to show up as that person who's interested in sports, who loves sports. And if you don't feel like that's you, then maybe sports photography is not for you, right?
Yeah.
I just think aligning your goals with who you are is number one in starting what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if you like don't know what to do, like just try a bunch of different stuff,
Yeah,
right? Because like things change all the time. Like you
exactly.
never know. Like, oh, maybe maybe you like wedding photography, or maybe you think you like wedding photography. Then you actually shoot a wedding, and oh no, this is not what I thought it was gonna be. So
And you know what? Another thing is, a lot of photographers, we talk about, don't do shoots for free. And I
right,
do
right.
think obviously there's a point where you should stop doing shoots for free.
Hmm.
When you're getting taken advantage of, when your skill set proves that you can do a shoot and you're still offering your services for free, obviously get
Yeah,
paid.
yeah.
However, I am a strong believer of doing free shoots, doing spec shoots on shoots you're not comfortable with yet. So
Hmm.
that's why, for example, when I try a new sport for the first time, or when I'm doing a wedding for the first time, when I did a classical shoot, for the first time. I do a
Okay.
lot of these things for, a much, much lower price. So I
Right.
can use that first project as a spec piece, and people can see that, I've put effort into it. And, I charge money based on my portfolio, but you're
Right.
never going to get your foot in the door without a portfolio in that field. So I
Yeah, of
say
course.
free shoots are sometimes the way to go when you want to try something new. That way, you're not liable
Yeah.
when it doesn't work out,
Right.
right? People are
Yeah.
not going to be like, I paid you nothing and this sucks, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you charge
Yeah.
nothing, people are going to be happy with whatever they can get.
Yeah.
So put yourself in uncomfortable situations, fail fast.
Yeah. What does that
Uh,
mean? What does that mean? Fail fast.
Fail fast, make mistakes, and be comfortable with making mistakes. You got
Okay.
to let go of your work because there's more coming. And if you hold on to your work and thinking that you failed with that project, you're never going to move on.
Hmm.
I can
Hmm.
go back to my very first project and be like, I failed. And I'm like stuck editing to this day, my very first project. I could be, because I know better now, but
Yeah.
I do better with the clients that I get now, and my rates reflect that too. And as you get better, you get paid more, right? So
Yeah.
fail fast, let go of your work early, so you're not
Okay.
stuck in, what you think is the perfect photo at that time, because your idea of perfection is going to change as you get older, and not just
Huge.
as you shoot, but as you live more life. you
Yeah.
know you're going to see more and you're going to be more, and then so if you can fail faster, again, you can let go of those parts that hold on to the things that you regret, so
Yeah.
get rid of it.
Yeah. And you just get better just with time.
Exactly.
Like, you're better in 5 years. Like, you're better in 2 years, 5 years. I mean, it just keeps going. Like, it's a never ending process.
Absolutely.
Like if your stuff isn't getting better, then there's a problem.
But you know what? Just by getting reps in, and if you are passionate about your work, you are always hyper aware of
Right.
little details. Again, you just can't change what you got going on right now. So just do better next time.
Yeah, that's all you can do, right? I mean,
Yep.
especially with like free work. Like my thing with free work is like it has to give you something, like a
Yes.
portfolio or a connection, like a networking thing. It has to give you some sort of advantage that you didn't have before. It doesn't have to be monetary. It has to give you something.
Yeah.
So that's my thing with free work, especially when you're starting out, because I do agree with you. You do need a portfolio. Like if you show up saying I shoot hockey, okay, well, where is it? And if you don't have a portfolio, it's like, okay, but that
Yeah.
doesn't. I totally agree with that. So you know, when I started, it's like I had the job. It's like,
Yep.
okay, now what? And it's such like a low pressure thing to do when you just assume that you have the job. Like no one's thinking about you. No one's asking you for stuff. You're just going out and taking like that initiative with just doing the work, right? And then
Yeah.
from there, yeah, like it's all timing, right? People, the right place, right time. You just never know who's looking at your stuff when. So
You never know.
you
Like,
just never
especially
know.
working with people, obviously when you do work with landscapes and you take beautiful scenery, it's hard to kind of get your work out there,
Right.
but with people, all these kids are they're great for promoting themselves, promoting my work, and
Yeah.
spreading the word. And I do think number one for me is making sure the girls feel loved and that
Mm,
they feel special, they feel
okay.
pretty.
Mhm.
um a lot of creatives, I do find, is they find that their own personal creative pursuit is more important than the client. And
Mm,
I don't believe so. It is never. Obviously, if you're a director of some sort and you're shooting a movie and you need the actor to cry, right? Okay, you're a director. Your vision is more important than the actor.
yeah.
But in my situation and with most photographers, making sure that your clients feel pretty in the moment
Right.
is so important, because if they feel uncomfortable, they don't feel like, if they don't feel pretty while getting the photo done,
Mm,
now all of the pressure is on the product, is on the photo to
mm,
make them feel what they wanted to feel. You
mm,
know, so they're looking at this photo and they want it to be the perfect angle, the perfect lighting, and the perfect this, perfect that.
yeah.
And the reality is, the projection of who they are in their brain sometimes is not what they really look like.
Right.
Especially with filters nowadays for younger girls, and it's
Mm,
really detrimental to their self-esteem. But I want to make sure that when they're getting the photo done, they feel pretty. And so
okay.
when they get the photo, that feeling of how they felt in front of the lights is, what's reflected when they receive it. So that's really important, I think. And I do pride in that.
So what are some tips for doing that? We're like working with people.
I think, obviously a lot of kids have different ways of feeling special, feeling loved, right? The
Mhm.
same with love language. There's, words of affirmation, there's acts of service, there's
Mhm.
physical touch. Like, for example, for, these younger girls, I make sure that I encourage them. I make sure that, for example, I help adjust their hair. And
Okay.
when I do, I tell them, oh, this is how, your hair looks great. Your hair is herring. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Because they can't see themselves in that moment,
Yeah.
right? I need to
Right.
encourage them. Even helping them, all right, bring your chin a little bit more this way. Perfect. That's gorgeous,
Mm,
right? Even that slight adjustment for them, I could have said, oh, you look pretty here, but then to help them feel pretty gives them trust. They now trust me that I am looking out for their best interests, right?
right. Yeah. You're on
um
their side.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that's what's most important, again, like that I show up kind of like one of the girls. you know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's why I do prefer shooting girls. And I do think a lot of female photographers make young girls feel more comfortable.
Yeah. Of course.
Which again, and women's hockey is an untapped market. There's not a lot of photographers. There are a lot of male photographers. However, I do think that there is a space for female photographers to come out and help girls that were in their shoes when they were younger, and make them feel special. Right. I do boys shoots. Like today, earlier in the morning, I did do a few
Yeah.
boys teams, and
Yeah.
and the boys, they don't need help with confidence at a young age. They're kind of just like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. They're ready
And I
to
love
rock.
it,
Eh?
and I love the energy, and it
Yeah.
does make it a little bit simpler at times. But
Right.
and for girls, I can sense once they, at around like 8, 9, they still have a lot of confidence. Once they hit like 13, 14, you can tell that they're starting to lose that confidence, that youthfulness, the I don't care energy, right? So I want to be there to support them through that because it is a tough age. Girls are really harsh on themselves. And I was a 13-year-old girl once, and I was, not just myself, but the people around me. Everyone is judgmental, and that's just the age that you're in.
Hmm.
But if I can help support them through this tough time and make them feel special, and make them feel like I properly represent who they are and who they want to be,
Right.
I think that's that's important. Like the girls, at the moment, even if they feel not confident, I want them to reimagine who they could be in a few years
Mm.
by posing them, in a strong pose. I ask them, are you a forward? Are you a shooter? Are you a defenseman? Are you a big body? Do you take up space on the ice? And I
Right.
want girls to feel confident about that. It's okay to have broader shoulders. It's okay to be, kind of a little bit reckless on the ice, a little bit more tough. And if that's who you are as a player, I want to embrace that in your photo.
Yeah.
So I do ask them questions, trying to get to know them. It's been great because I see the girls come back every year. And so this is my second year of business, but my fourth year of shooting.
Right.
And I see girls that come back from when I shot with them when they were, 15, 16 years old, and now they're 18.
Right.
It's just great to be like, to witness their development, their confidence in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Right? When they first showed up for my media days, we were all awkward. I was awkward. They were awkward. We didn't know what we were doing.
And I just laugh at those days.
Exactly.
Remember when?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
Don't. Yeah.
they're 18, I'm
Yeah.
24, and they're
Yeah.
killing it in front of the camera. I'm killing it behind the camera, and we're just having fun. We play music. We have a good time.
Nice.
It's a team bonding event too. I
Wow.
prioritize fun.
I can sense that for sure. I'm hyped. I want to get shot. I want to play hockey. Jeez.
I want to have fun at work, so why wouldn't I make it
Yeah,
fun,
of
right?
course. Well, I mean, of course it's important to have fun. I mean, sometimes the lines get blurred when you make like your thing like your job. I mean, it does get a little bit like the lines get blurred a little bit, but yeah, if
Yep.
you're able to have fun, then yeah, for sure. It definitely helps. Absolutely. So is that like what makes your business unique in terms of like how you approach these shoots? Like, are other people doing what you do?
I do say that there are photographers out there that do what I do in regards to media days
Yeah.
and photo shoots, game shoots.
Yeah, but in
But
terms of
I
like how you
haven't.
deal with in terms of like
Yeah.
how you deal with like the people, like the players.
You know what? I've only found one photographer who kind of radiates similar energy, and
Yeah.
she's actually the person who got me involved with the PWHL. Her name's
Cool.
Heather. She
Okay.
is amazing,
Shout out
amazing
Heather.
photographer.
Okay.
She shoots all different kinds of women's teams. She's shot at the Team Canada level, and she does amazing work.
Yeah.
But she just radiates youthfulness and passion
Yeah.
that I don't see in photographers that have been doing this for a long time. The light in their eyes kind of fade as years go on, and it
Mm,
kind of gets monotonous. But for Heather, oh my gosh, the joy that she has for photography in general is unmatched. And when I
wow.
look at what she does, I'm like, I want to be like that when I grow up. And so I kind of bring her energy to my shoots. And I do think at the moment, we are, only a couple of us are kind of doing the way we work. And I do think that's why a lot of people tend to gravitate towards my photo shoots.
Yeah.
Again, there are a lot of photographers that do what I do when it comes to media days. It is,
Yeah.
however, a lot of people do kind of a conveyor belt, just like,
Well, that's
all
what I
right,
mean.
shoot, go, shoot,
That's what I mean.
go.
Like, why do people come to you? That's what I mean. Like, what separates your business, right? Like, if you have to pitch someone, like,
Yeah.
what's the pitch?
The pitch, I'd say, is, do you want your girls to have fun?
Right.
And I think I don't really have a set pitch, like, you get A, B, C when you're with me. Obviously, I do have a pamphlet in which or like a kind of a package details when I send emails that explain what I do and what my mission is. But I do think the reason why people want to come back to me is not just because they fall in love with the photos, it's because they fall in love with me, because I fall in love with the kids in the way that I think all the kids have their own unique story. And I care enough to make sure that that story is shining through the lens.
Yeah.
Everyone's going through something. And I know a lot of girls come out to media day and they might have had a rough day or something else is going on in their life. But I kind of want them to realize that what we're doing out here, this is family. These are teammates that want to be there for you. So I ask the girls who are waiting on the sidelines before they get their portrait done to like cheer the girl on to make them feel special. I'm like, all right, you guys are the fans, and that's the superstar. And I let them be a model. Whereas a lot of times I remember when my media day was going on, I felt awkward in front of the lights. I felt like I was weird for taking up space and putting on a model face. Like I didn't feel comfortable about that. But I give the girls space to be a star, and they take it, they soak it all in. And then I let the other girls, instead of being like, oh, she looks cute, or, be forward with it. Tell them that they look pretty,
Yeah.
So I kind of create this environment where I think it's all love, and people like that. People enjoy that. And I just want to get rid of the awkwardness of what photo shoots are. Because even myself, I feel ridiculous in front of a camera if it's not me on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And but what I can do best is make sure that if I'm silly, the girls are silly. And again, if I'm making sure that they look pretty, they feel pretty, they provide me with the respect to get into the pose, calmly without throwing tantrums, especially when they're younger or like skating around. And again, the respect goes both ways. And so it's great.
Yeah, I think it helps that you were a player because you're
Yes.
in their shoes. I think it totally helps because if you haven't been a player, then you don't really know. You
Yeah.
only know one side of it. You don't know both sides.
Exactly.
So I think that's a
And it's
big
also
time.
kind of, a little bit for me too. I speak like it's all for the kids, but this is so much for me and my
Right.
joy and fulfillment in life. I played junior hockey, but then I got a few concussions that prevented me from playing at a higher level. Which I was never really a star player anyway. So I think this was the right path for me. But to kind of relive the glory days, to be part of that change room, I think once you leave, you don't really get an opportunity to come back.
Right. Yeah.
So for me to kind of relive those moments in the change room, on the ice, where my team, when I played the last few years, we were not a great team. We're on the bottom three, but oh my gosh,
What
the
team? What
memories I
team?
made off the ice are unforgettable, and the friendships I made along the way has been so great.
Right.
And I want these kids to recognize that this moment in their life is special, and they get it once and it comes and it goes.
Right.
So soak it all in, enjoy it.
Yeah.
And so if I can provide that while I'm there, it fulfills, my soul while making sure that the kids have fun at the same time.
Yeah, it's huge. And I guess like some of these girls want to go pro, right? Like,
I hope so.
you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like the goal, right? So
Absolutely. I do hope that a lot of these girls through the photos, see themselves in a different light.
Right.
They look at the photo, especially when they're younger, they look at themselves, really well represented, and they're like, dang, I can be a pro player one day.
Yeah.
They look at themselves, they think they're really cool. Another, hope for me is that as women's hockey grows and
Mhm.
women's sports in general grows, I do hope that girls do see the benefit in staying in sports, even though playing professional is not their end goal.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of jobs opening up for, people like me and other, there's so many opportunities for women to be involved in sports, in women's sports, without playing at a
Sure.
high level.
Yeah.
So I say stick with it and enjoy this time of your life. But there's always more out there too, which I hope that, people see what I do, and that might spark a little bit of inspiration or, dreams for them. That would be nice.
Yeah, it could be coaching, it could be broadcasting, it could be like, it could be like social media content creator with it, because
Exactly.
like the league's expanding, right? So you
It
never know
is.
where like where it's gonna go, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So have you shot someone that's played in the lower leagues to that's gone pro? Have you shot someone yet? That's
Um, Not yet,
yeah.
because it's only been a few years. However,
Yeah.
I did play with a player who is now playing pro, which is
Cool.
pretty cool. Like, she was my
Yeah.
captain, Kristen De La
Cool.
Rivera. She's amazing.
Yeah. Where
She
does she
plays
play?
pro.
Where does she
Uh,
play?
she's playing for Ottawa.
Okay.
Yes. No,
Right on.
Montreal. Yes, she was playing for Montreal.
Nice.
So yeah, no, she's great. And I don't know where she's playing this year, where she's playing, but she's awesome.
Yeah.
And however, though, I do take a lot of photos of players that are now playing at high level university,
Cool.
D1. They're doing amazing things.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
do hope that, the girls that I've shot when they're like 11 years old, 10 years later, now they're playing in pro. Like, that would be my dream come true. Obviously, I just have to wait until time passes, but
Yeah, of course.
that would be amazing.
Yeah, it'd be a cool story, right?
Yeah.
Shot you when you were 16 and now
Yep.
that'd be pretty cool, I think.
Yep.
And plus you already have the relationship too with her, right? So
Exactly.
it'd be so cool, right? It'd be like, yeah, it'd be easy to do it. So it must be now like the busy season for you, right? Because like hockey's ramped up and
Oh yeah.
yeah. Does it ever
It's a
slow
pretty
down though?
busy.
Does it ever slow down? Like summertime?
Oh yeah, summertime
Yeah.
definitely. It slows down. I don't get a lot of hockey shoots, but
Mm,
summertime is when I do my spec shoots. I love, like I said, the classical shoot that I recently did. I do some music videos here and there. Um, but yeah, I
that's
do
cool.
have an opportunity to kind of do things outside of hockey, which keeps
Yeah, keeps it
my
fresh.
interest.
Keeps it
Yes,
fresh. Different
yes,
different challenges,
absolutely. And
different
I
things.
did preface this before we jumped in,
Yeah.
but I do think that, if you are to shoot the same thing all year, there is a little bit of creative burnout.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
sure.
and I
It's
do want to kind of speak on how I kind of make sure that I still have creative juice, because I never want that light to die. I never want that little fire inside me to dim when it
yeah.
comes to creativity. I think I was always meant to create, and I want to keep that fire going. And so I want to make sure that I have a personal life.
Mm,
And a lot of photographers, a lot of creatives, and I did this as well because of COVID, but we kind of box ourselves into our creative zone, right? We
sure.
only interact with creative people, or we kind of close ourselves off to everything that's going on out there
Yeah.
in the pursuit of creating. But the reality is, if you don't live life, you have nothing to be inspired from, right? You have nothing to pull inspiration from. And so I want to keep myself busy in other ways than my job, which is, even though I love what I do,
Sure.
right? I never want to get to the point where it's just like, oh, I'm working today. I love waking up and just going straight to the editing desk.
Yeah.
But I continue the things that I used to do in my past. So hockey is one thing. I do pick up hockey every Friday night, play
Yeah.
pickup.
Cool.
Uh, and I played softball this summer every
Nice.
Sunday. I play
Nice.
volleyball every
Jeez.
Tuesday.
Jeez, you never stop.
Yeah, in the summer I played ultimate frisbee. Like in
Mhm.
high school, I played all the sports I could get my hands on. Now
Right.
it's wintertime. We're gonna jump into some snowboarding.
Yeah.
My my car is filled with like hockey skates, snowboard, baseball glove.
It's like a sports store in
Oh
your
yeah,
car.
pretty much.
Yeah,
So, I want to make sure that these moments, for example, like scoring a goal and when you're down by one, that feeling doesn't get away from me, and I don't want to just
yeah.
capture it through other people. I want to feel that too. I
You
want
have
to
to.
remember what it feels like, and I need to put myself in these situations to be able to capture it, you know?
Yeah.
Because yeah, a lot of people and me, I'm guilty of it. It's so easy to get comfortable behind the camera and kind of
Mhm.
separate yourself from reality. The camera kind of gives you a superpower and allows you to kind of, again, just be kind of a step away, kind of look outside in on what's going on with the world and be like, oh my gosh, all these little people, they're doing their thing. But if you don't give yourself an opportunity to be like one of them, how do you know how people feel,
Well, that's exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
I think that's
Never
a
assume. Never assume how people feel.
yeah, so that's a
You
big
know,
part of making sure that my creative juice stays alive
it's
is
huge. It's
making
huge.
sure that I love life. If I don't love life, how do I capture people loving life?
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
So
Yeah, it's definitely important to do things other than your thing.
yeah,
Huge.
absolutely.
Huge. Because yeah, if you don't do that, then eventually, yes, you will burn out. Like you
Yeah.
will start to hate your job, and
Yeah.
that's never good, right? And I think that's where people kind of fall into the trap of just every day just grinding it out. And
Yeah.
sometimes that is like what's needed, but also you also need to take a step back and just do different things. And like you said, different experiences. Like just do something totally different.
Yeah.
Because I think in that way you also get inspired too when you just expose
Exactly.
yourself to a different experience or different situation or different people or whatever the thing is,
Yep.
because you just your brain works differently,
Absolutely.
you
And
know?
you see more when you're shooting, right? And
Yeah.
I think for me personally, especially out of COVID. So during
Mhm.
COVID, just like everyone else, I was stuck inside and I was hesitant post COVID to kind of get out there and, join teams because I
Yeah.
grew up playing competitive sports. And to go from competitive sports to nothing at all, than to just having fun,
Right.
I wasn't ready for that. But then once I jumped in, like I said, just do it. Once you jump in, it's just been great. I haven't looked
Yeah.
back. And what I've learned through being with people again in an adult environment, because last
Mhm.
thing I remember, I was high school and I was young and,
Right.
everyone was really close knit. But now being an adult and having to be, cordial to everybody, um, and some of the relationships are close, but a lot of them are on the surface level. You
Mhm.
start to learn more about relationships and connections and how deep they can be, and also how shallow they can be as well.
Mhm.
But moments like this remind me of how important it is when I'm shooting to recognize these relationships and connections. For example, when I do weddings, right? When I do weddings, I get to know the couple in
Yeah.
such detail. I do multiple Zoom calls with them. I go
Right.
out to lunch with them. I want to know who they are as people. So, for example, when they're walking down the aisle, that slight look to their nan that they, cherish them for a long, long time, and they're
Yeah.
having her at the wedding is so special to them. Even for them to just say, "Oh, I love my nan," is one thing, but to know who they are and for that
Mhm.
slight look to mean something.
There's a context.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a
And
context. Yeah.
it's to them it's very special. To everyone else it's just a look, but to me I understand that that look was special. And so even on the ice, when a coach is talking to a player, this moment of sharing guidance is an important part of the
Yeah.
game, on
Right.
top of all the action shots that I take, right? Taking these moments of relationships and connections that are being built right in front of me are things
Right.
worth capturing,
Mm.
which I do think a lot of sports photographers focus on the sports, but it's so much
Yeah.
bigger than sports,
Yeah.
right? The
You
parents
want it
that
you
come
want it
out,
to be more
yeah,
you want it to be more than the photo.
exactly. I
Right.
want them to remember, all the parents that came out, the long drives that they had,
Mhm.
the coaches that spend all night coming up with drills and looking at game footage that give them guidance. There's so many pieces to the puzzle that you don't really realize are part of your success until you're older.
Mhm.
So I just want these young kids to receive these photos and recognize that the game is bigger than them. And then there's more to it than just playing hockey.
Right.
Obviously, hockey photos on ice, cool. They're great. But if
Yeah.
they can, receive a little bit more of life through what I send to them, I'm happy.
Well, I mean, that's what separates like the work, right, from other people. It's like, sure, they're all hockey photos, but this one actually means a lot more just because of what you just mentioned, right? Because you're taking the time to like get all those details, where other people may not. They just want to get the photo and just move on, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And
So,
it's beautiful. Like, I think my experience with my mom passing has
mhm,
taught me how, again, short life is,
mhm.
how important these relationships are. I gotten closer to my dad since, her passing. My sister, I gotten closer with her. I gotten closer with my grandpa and all these relationships. I was never
Yeah.
conscious of it,
Right.
and that's for most people. The people around you are the people around you, and you kind of take them for granted until they're
Yep.
taken away.
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
So yeah, it's just like you want to make sure that they understand how special these moments are and these people around them are, and to not take it for granted, because everyone here showed up today to make sure that you feel great on the ice.
Yeah.
And so it's important to recognize how special they are to you. Even though they might not understand it now, I want them to look back on the photos when they're, 5 years older. They're like,
Oh yeah.
I remember this,
Of
and this
course.
is important to me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Because it's about the moment. It's about that place and time.
Yes,
For sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure your family's very, like, very, very proud of you too, right? Just like the whole journey, right? In such a
I
short
hope
period of
so.
time, like I think it's pretty remarkable. So
Thank you.
yeah, yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you. I hope they're proud.
Of course they are. Of course they are. Um, so how was shooting for the PWHL? Like, how was that experience?
Oh
How did you
man.
get? How did that come about?
So Heather, who I talked about
Right.
earlier,
Yeah. Yeah.
she was my photographer at Leaside. She came out to a game or two, and she uh, knows that I'm in photography now.
Yeah.
And I've seen her around here and there. We seen each other come, we cross paths at certain shoots, and she reached out to me out of the blue. She was like, "Hey, we need some extra help for the playoffs. Can you be my second
Cool
shooter?"
playoffs, eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
jeez.
I jumped in at the playoffs at the Coca-Cola Coliseum. They're playing at
Dope.
Anatomy all year.
Dope. Dope.
And they're like, "Come on out. Playoffs. Day
Playoffs.
one." I'm like, "No freaking
Really?
way." Here
Really?
I am, Obviously it's a cool job opportunity to, take photos in that space, but just, to be in that space as an athlete, as a, hockey player is just a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So it was hard to kind of stay contained while doing my job. I was like fangirling at the same time I was shooting. But the experience was like no other, and I have
Mhm.
never seen, so the playoff games that I went sold out, right? So
Yeah.
the entire Coca-Cola Coliseum filled with people, everyone waving their towels, and I'm just jaw dropped in awe of everything that's going on and the fact that I get to capture it through my lens. So I was a second shooter, so I was in charge of capturing fans and a lot of like
Cool.
sponsorship photos. So
Dope.
not the game itself, but
Cool.
again, I think this is where I have my strengths is I focus on things outside of the game as well, which make the game special. So
Of
like the
course.
fans' energy, all the kids that come up and dress up with spoons because
Mhm.
Spooner's on the ice. All
Mhm.
the retired grandmas who have dreamed for this moment. You can see the twinkle in their eyes. There's
Yeah.
finally a league here that they
Yeah.
can watch, and it's all women. All the dads that have daughters that have now a new dream for their kids, like
Right.
all these little things that that are outside of the rink of the girls playing, I think are really special, and I got to capture that. And I tried really hard not to cry, but I did get emotional. But it was just an amazing thing, and so I
Yeah.
have an opportunity to go back this season, not full time, which is great that I can kind of like I get
Yeah.
to live best of both worlds. I kind
Good.
of show up part time for PWHL.
Right.
Again, I get to like leave work at work, so
Yeah.
I don't really do the video editing. I'll just shoot or I'll take photos. I'll edit the photos, but I kind of
Yeah.
get to leave work at work,
Right.
and then I have my whole business where I get to work with those who are coming up and about and dreaming of going to the
Yeah.
PWHL.
Right.
And I think prepare them for what it's like to be in front of the camera and what it feels like.
Crazy.
So
Crazy.
I I get to do both, and it's just
Good.
amazing. I'm living in the perfect dream at the moment.
Yeah, it's all timing, right? Right place, right time.
Oh yeah,
You know the right person.
exactly. And this league, the way it's come about, it was, really quick and sudden, and it all came together really quickly.
Yeah,
And I'm really amazed at how much time and effort people have been putting into it.
it's
And it's
huge.
definitely, deserved. The girls, deserve this platform and this space to perform. But yeah, to be a part of kind of like the ground floor of this growth, I
Basically.
only think it's gonna skyrocket from here.
Yeah.
But even though I'd consider myself still very amateur, considering
Mhm.
there's people that have been doing this for 10 years plus,
Right, right.
for someone that's been only shooting for a few years to be at that stage has
So how'd you
really,
feel? So how'd you
oh
feel about that?
man, I am nothing but grateful,
Yeah,
honored. And I do think it's special for me to again be here at the ground floor and hoping that I can kind of grow with them as the league grows,
yeah,
because I do think that the league deserves the best. And I know I'm not the best yet, but I do want to get there. But the fact that they're investing in me at the
yeah,
same time as they're investing in obviously the professional league goes to show that they're willing to grow with me, right? And I'm
yeah,
willing to grow with them. So, I love to see where this goes in the next few years and see, what amazing stuff I can create with them and everyone else too, all the other creatives that are on board. I do say, there are quite a few veterans,
yeah.
but a lot of us are still new to the game. And the fact that we get to be a part of creating an image for these professional women have just been a dream come true. And we're only
Yeah,
just going to get better from here.
yeah. Well, it's year 2, right? So I think is this year, are there new teams this year, or is that
Not
next
yet.
year?
Next year, they're adding
Next
two
year
more
there's
teams, which
2
is
more teams, right?
dope. Insane.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Yeah,
exciting.
it just took off, right?
Yeah.
Just took
And
off.
money goes in, money comes out, right? People are waiting for someone to give us a whole ton of money and be like, all right, now you have a professional league. No, I think women, we scratch and clawed our way through to get this playing time, to get the playing time on TV, the exposure, and it's well deserved. I think we showed up, and a lot of people, there was a discourse back then how it's it's all the media's fault. The media doesn't give the girls attention, but I do think we kind of rose up to the occasion and we treated it as a business,
Mhm.
as an entertainment business, and here we are proving people wrong that we can make something out of this. And so
Yeah.
I think it's important, yeah, that women have shifted mindset and the people in charge have shifted mindset instead of asking for handouts to actually do it ourselves and do it our way.
Yeah.
And so I really do think it's just going to grow from here. Money goes
Yeah.
in, money goes out, money
Sure.
comes all around,
Sure.
right? We're going to
Sure.
get sponsors,
Yeah.
endorsements, a lot of people being on our side. So
Yeah,
it's
well,
real exciting.
look at the WNBA, right? So
Exactly.
hopefully kind of follows that model where it just sticks and
Exactly.
it just kind of grows, right?
Yeah, well, hopefully, in due time, we'll be at the level where the NHL feels comfortable enough shutting us out. But
Yeah.
at the moment, they seem to be kind of distant. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll rise up to the occasion. I know
Yeah.
the girls are doing great things on their own as well.
Sure.
They're all learn, and this is again new. It's very new for the
Yeah.
girls to brand themselves, to put
Mm.
themselves out there without
Mhm.
feeling like they're doing too much, right? It's
Mhm.
a common discourse to put women down by saying, "Oh, you're too loud, you're too much, you take too much space," and all these things are ways to make women feel less than. But in reality, you need to put yourself out there. You need to take up space in order for people to want to look at you,
Right.
right?
Right.
So I'm hoping that through these photos as well, the girls from a young age don't feel ashamed of putting themselves out there, branding themselves as a hockey player, being confident
Mm.
about that, and saying, "Hey, look at me. This is what I do. What's up?" Instead of asking for someone, waiting for that university opportunity for them to take a photo of them. No, do it early. Put yourself, in front of people's eyes because you got to get comfortable sooner or later, right?
Mm. So is that what you're trying to do with them when you're shooting these girls? Like you're trying to get them kind of in that kind of mindset?
Well, that honestly is not really my goal or my responsibility.
Yeah.
Whether they brand themselves or not, obviously, is up to them.
Yeah.
But I want to provide them with the tools to do so.
Yeah.
So, again, if they can take my photos, use it to brand themselves and feel good about themselves, great.
Mm.
But my main goal is for them to just feel pretty and special in the moment.
Right.
If they
Okay.
take it further than that, that is amazing. That's just,
Mm.
gravy on top.
Mm.
Uh, but main goal is just, they have fun, they feel pretty, and
Yeah,
we
makes
get a
sense.
successful media day.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, those must be long days, right? Media days.
Actually, not too long. Like, so what
No?
we do is depending on the package they choose, right? They have an opportunity to take photos off ice if they don't want to compromise ice time, or we can do some off ice, some on ice. But my shoots on ice don't go longer than an hour and a half because that's usually what they have for practice time.
Okay.
I know
Okay.
ice is expensive, so I try to make it work around what they currently have.
Beautiful.
When you're in university, you have the ice to yourself, so you can
Mm.
spend 3-4 hours on the ice and do whatever you want and take a million shots for each player. But I am limited in time.
Right.
And
So
so we need to
it's not like an 8-hour day or 12-hour day where no,
no, no, no,
okay.
no,
All
no.
right, okay.
So it's just a couple hours,
All right.
which is
Cool.
great for me. And it's nighttime, and nighttime is also when I come alive as a hockey player. All
Mm.
practices are nighttime, game times are at night. So
Mhm.
today, shooting the boys at
Yeah.
8 a.m. felt so weird. I was
Yeah.
like, this is so weird to me. This is new because I'm so used to shooting at night. But yeah, with the girls, just a couple hours. And then I deliver the photos, um, like week after week, I'll send some photos because it is a big project, right? We got team photos, individual portraits. Sometimes people want hype reels, they want change room portraits,
Yeah.
they want headshots, depending on what their package is and what their budget allows for. I just kind of deliver
Mm.
weekly just so I can work on everyone at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
that's one thing that I kind of struggle with because
Gotta be
I do.
organized, eh?
Oh yeah,
Gotta be
I do
organized.
love spending a little bit extra time, even though I shouldn't, because again, I love what I do.
Yeah.
So it's
No
hard to
doubt.
kind of be like done with it when I know it's not my best work. But what I do now is I've actually hired a few people
Okay.
that
Doing
kind
what?
of keep the pipeline running.
Okay. In terms of what?
So they help me cull through the photos.
Ah,
So if I take 1,000 photos on a shoot, they'll bring it down to 200 or something like that.
yeah. That's good.
I do, it depends on the edit, but sometimes when the edit is easy, I share a preset that I've made with one of the photos and they just kind of copy and paste and crop and adjust with the rest
Yeah.
of them.
Cool.
Also, final touches I have now delegated, which is something that I used to hold on to because
Okay.
I thought that kind of sending it off was a bit ridiculous because it's a little bit personal in regards to what I see for final touches. But
Mm,
I've sent it, like I've allowed people to take it on, and I've never been happier. So what they do is,
good.
with the ice rink, there's a lot of light reflections in the background because it's
Yeah.
glass,
Yeah.
and I can't do anything about that but edit it out.
Yeah.
And I love the clean look. I can't help it. It's gonna be there. It doesn't matter how I shoot with the lights, the reflection is always gonna be there on the glass. So I have editors helping me get rid of that. Thank God for generative AI.
Right?
Content
Sh-
aware Phil is
It's a
long
dream.
gone.
It's a dream.
Yeah, generative AI has been wonderful. So I get rid of all the light reflections in the background. Sometimes there's exit signs, the time
Yeah.
on the clock that I want to get rid of, the Zamboni light. Sometimes there's just things that are out of place in a hockey rink that you don't have control over, but then you have control over it in the editing room. And my problem is if I can do it, why wouldn't I? And I could send the photos as is, like with all the light reflections in the background, and the clients would probably be happy either way. But that's just my personal standard. I don't like
Oh,
to see the light reflections in the
me
background.
neither. Me
Yeah.
neither.
I feel like even though I couldn't shoot it any other way, it does kind of give an amateur look. So if I can get rid of it, why wouldn't I?
Of
So I'm
course.
gonna.
If it looks better, why wouldn't you do it if it looks
Exactly.
like why wouldn't you take the
Exactly.
extra time? But it's good that you're able to hand stuff out because like some people don't like handing off their stuff. It's like their thing, right? It's like their
Well,
baby.
I struggle with that, and that's a big thing. And I think if you want to like if you want to scale,
Yeah, of
you got
course.
it.
You have to. It's impossible.
Yeah. And so for me, my growth is going to go in two ways. And I only have two ways of going. either like, growing my business. It's either I go up, like grow vertically, meaning I lose the clients I currently have, I charge more, and I
Yeah.
do different kinds of shoots, or I direct, or I produce, or I don't think there's a ceiling for me.
Yeah.
It's just picking a path and sticking with it.
Right. Right.
But that's me growing vertically
Right.
to make sure I pay the bills. And right now, if it's just me, it's okay. But once I have a family, I have kids, I got dependents, I gotta make sure they're fed too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
either grow that way or I grow laterally. And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Right.
Instead of increasing my rates this way, I'm hiring more people so I can take on more gigs and
Interesting.
so I can get paid more.
It's
It
good
is a
tip.
business at the end of the day. And so obviously you gotta like keep the creative juices running, but the business juices running at the same time. And finding business ideas is also a creative act. There's
Mm.
a little bit of creativity in that. There's an art in business.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm not trying to fool anybody, right? When people talk about making money, making business, it kind of contradicts with what it means to be an artist.
Yeah. They don't. They
um
don't. They don't match at all.
no, how can I say I do it for fun but then still charge a lot for it, right? And so I do struggle with that dichotomy, but I do think it's, you know I gotta treat both of them as art, right? My
Treat the
creative
business
side,
as art.
yeah,
Interesting.
exactly.
Interesting. Interesting.
So create art, but then business, my ability to make money in ways that don't, create a burden for other people, but also for myself. Finding that fine line is art, right?
Wow.
And people kind of get rid of that aspect of what they're doing, and they kind of just try to fuel themselves by passion. But at some point, you're gonna get hit by a wall because you gotta pay the bills. Like
Yeah.
how
Sure.
how are you gonna grow your business? And you can't make a change like that. You can't be like, okay, I'm broke, I gotta make a change tomorrow. It's gotta be a gradual change.
Yeah.
You
Of
always
course.
gotta add to and change your business, the way you
Mm.
approach it, the way you sell yourself, how you speak, how you present, how you share your content. All of this, like, it's all important, and it's
Mm.
part of the business. And I just label it as art because I rather not call it money making, again, because it just takes away from the beauty of
Yeah.
what
It's
I'm
very like it's
doing.
very like soul. Yeah. Soul sucking.
It
When you make.
is.
Yeah.
It is. But girl's got to pay her bills. She's got to
Mhm.
eat.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we got to find a way that everyone's happy, and
Yeah.
I stay, afloat, because if I can't, then I can't, service all these people that I had the privilege to work with. So
Sure.
in order to make sure I keep on going, I have to make sure that I'm considering alternative business options, ways to grow financially, on
Right.
top of growing creatively.
Initially, I never had someone call it business art, but I kind of like that angle. I might use that.
Definitely
I
do. Man, everything is art.
could be.
It's just
Sure.
how you see
Yeah.
it, right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Wow. It's great. So, like, do you have any like dream clients that you want to work with?
Dream clients,
Dream team or dream player or
oh,
you know?
you know what? Obviously, shooting at the professional level has been a dream come true. And if I
Yeah.
can take over a shoot where I am the main shooter, that would be
Yeah.
amazing. I just don't think I'm ready for that yet. But a dream client for me
Yeah.
would possibly be going back to Japan and shooting Team Japan.
Cool.
It,
Hockey.
hockey.
Hockey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't had the opportunity to shoot. I like work while I'm back home in Japan. When I go visit, I kind of go visit, have fun, enjoy my time as a tourist. But I do think having an opportunity to, fly back to Japan to just shoot their team and
Yeah.
kind of shine them in the light that they deserve to be, shine in, then I would love to have that opportunity. I think Japan, their photographer is great and they do great things, but it is very old school and same as what they've been doing for
Mhm.
years and years and years. And that's what's great about Japan. But I do think there's an opportunity to kind of put them in a more modern light
Mhm.
and
That's
make
your
them look
pitch.
real cool
That's your
on the
pitch.
ice.
That's your pitch.
Yeah.
Send
I
them a note on
hope.
Instagram. Send them a note on Instagram.
Yeah.
Say,
Well, you
look.
know what? I gotta see if they pay for the plane ticket, because like, oh my gosh, it's like $3,000 for a round
Yeah.
trip. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so once I have disposable income, I would love, honestly, to even do it pro bono, to even just have the opportunity to shoot for them would be great.
Yeah.
but yeah, I got to make sure that I have everything going on well here before I present that and say I'm gonna fly back with my own funds. So yeah, I want to say in a few years we'll
Yeah.
revisit that dream and see if we can make it
Are
come
they
true.
playing hockey in the Olympics?
They do, and they're actually
Yeah.
getting better each year.
So there you go. Maybe 2028, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
You know
2028?
what? Even if they have, sometimes they come over to Canada, US, to play games. And if they come to Toronto and and I have an opportunity
You
to
never
shoot
know.
them, yeah, there,
Yeah,
like here,
yeah.
this would be awesome. But
You never
yeah,
know. You just gotta ask. You just gotta ask sometimes.
yeah, for
You
sure.
just never know, right? I think
Yeah,
people get shy with asking, but, like, no, that's actually how you get stuff.
yep, exactly. And you know
Right?
what? So I have one girl who plays for the U18 team, the Team Japan,
Mhm.
and she's right now playing for Mississauga U18 AA.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping that maybe she can help persuade, like, there needs to be kind of some way for these people back home to see my stuff, not just through me. I feel like if there's other ways that they can see my work before I introduce myself, they'll be more convinced.
Of course, all the time. Of
Right. So
course.
I'll wait a couple of years
You
when
just
she's, playing for the national team for her to bring my
that's
name up,
it.
and then we'll see if
Love
we
it.
can make it
It's gonna
happen.
happen. You know, it's
I
gonna
hope
happen.
so.
It's gonna
I'm gonna
happen.
write it down. I'm gonna write it down.
You
That's
should
my
write
new
it down
dream.
and just make a note, say, November 2nd, 2024, I made this remark on a podcast, and then boom,
It better happen now.
right?
We
No, well,
manifested it.
well, you never know. All things come in time. I think there's a time and place for everything too, in
Yeah,
terms of just like where you are in your career. It could be anything. It doesn't have
exactly.
to be photography. It could be anything. So
Yeah.
you just never know, right? So very cool,
Yep, for
very
sure.
cool. Well, we're up against the hour, so I don't want to take up too much of your Saturday. So I just want to say thanks again for coming on.
Oh no, thanks for having
Yeah,
me. You know what? If I could, I'd yap for longer, but this has
yeah. No,
been great.
I love your passion. Did you want to leave people with any kind of final words, advice?
Final words,
Yeah.
advice. Man, don't be afraid to look a little stupid. I think
Mm,
that's as photographers, creatives, we just like we want our work to be perfect. We want ourselves to be perfect in our journey. But you cannot get frustrated about who you are in the moment because you only know what you know right now. And as you grow, you'll change your behavior, you'll change your work based on that. But you can't be afraid to look stupid at times. You can't be afraid to make mistakes and to fail. Like I said earlier, fail fast. And who you are in a few years will be grateful that you made all those mistakes in the past.
yeah,
So, yeah,
exactly.
you do
So
you.
you do you. Well, no doubt. I think just goes to show you, I think having passion for something really kind of like translates when you talk with other people because they just kind of feed off it, right?
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, this person is being genuine, being sincere. So anyway, thanks, Kobo, for coming on. Love to have you
Um,
back on at some point.
yes,
And
absolutely.
thanks everyone watching and listening. If this thing is in Japan, that's cool. Thanks for watching, listening in Japan, and go check out Kobo. Link is in the description of this podcast, and we shall see you next time. Peace.